Hi, everybody. This is Jason. First of all, I'm in Los Angeles. This is where I'm relocating. I'm starting a stand up comedy career. I know, right? Wish me luck. Secondly, I'd like to discuss Dave Emory. Dave Emory and the Underground Reich. Now, folks, Dave Emory I've discussed many times in my videos, but this video will be only about Dave Emory. I know there's some stuff going on right now, and I will talk about some of the current events later in other videos. I'm not going to stop doing videos or anything. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do more videos. But I want to talk about Dave Emory, and what Dave Emory is a gentleman who has been in the conspiracy community. He's a left-wing conspiracy theorist, and he's based out of San Francisco, the Bay Area. He was friends with somebody by the name of Mae Brussell. Well, they were friends, they were also colleagues, and he has a similar vein. If you know who Mae Brussell is, she's one of the truly great conspiracy theorists, researchers, more than theorists, researchers, that's the world has ever known, America's ever known, rather. Certainly. And she worked for Jim Garrison, actually, who prosecuted Clay Shaw and was the only person to ever bring charges against anybody in the Kennedy assassination, JFK assassination. He, of course, was the district attorney of New Orleans Parish, Louisiana. Dave Emory, to me, he's approaching his 60s. I think he's in his 60s now. He's been around since the late 70s, early 80s. He has over 1,000 or 900 and some, no, well over 1,000 audio recordings that you can listen to. He still does them every week, once a week. They range from topics from fake aliens and stuff that I like to talk about, that the Pentagon, the lies that the Pentagon uses and tries to convince people that aliens are real and that UFOs are not man-made, but in fact alien-based, so they can continue to test secret programs, secret ships, secret craft, and continue to get away with. It's a disinformation campaign, essentially. It also has to do with not just to the American people, because that's what they're spending your money on, but it also has to do with Russia and other, Cold War, essentially, kind of thinking still. And Dave Emory is one of those people who has researched this tremendously well. He also has gone in depth in his main avenue, has really been what is called the Underground Reich. Post-World War II saw Germany the Third Reich go underground. There's enough mainstream evidence that can be shown and some proofs that perhaps Hitler didn't die after in World War II, didn't commit suicide. It was in fact another body, and that he was ushered off into South America. And this has been shown by a lot of the Nazi hunters from Israel and other places in America, that the Nazis, in fact, there were tons of Nazis in South America, Argentina, and many, many other places, Chile, etc., etc., etc. The Nazis also escaped into the rat lines into Scandinavia with the help largely of the Catholic Church. Now, not every Catholic and not every Catholic church was involved, but the Catholic Church were very pro whoever's in charge, whoever was the power source at the time in the country, and in any country they were in. So they were very supportive of the Nazi ideology, and they helped a lot of these guys leave the country after, as the inevitability that Germany was going to essentially lose the war on the battlefield. Germany did not lose the war economically. Japan didn't lose it economically. America seems to have lost the war economically. And you're saying to yourself, Jason, explain more. Well, thank you for asking, and I will. There is a old joke, and Dave Emory tells it, and I don't think he wrote it. He says, somebody wrote it. Oh, no, I believe maybe it was Mort Saul, perhaps, that wrote it, and said, it's a good thing that America won World War II, or everyone would be driving German and Japanese cars, and our foreign policy would be written by Schultz, Weinberger, and Kissinger. Yeah. That's essentially Dave Emory's entire premise, along with other great writers and investigative journalists and conspiracy theorists as well, that he has studied and analyzed and brought this data in a very layman, concise way over the last, since the late, I'm 40. So I was born in 1976, and Dave Emory's probably been doing this since 1981 that I'm familiar with, about 80. So you're looking at 40 years, and roughly. And he's dead right. He didn't think Trump was going to be president because nobody thought Trump was going to be president. But at the same time, he always said the same thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the Fourth Reich, the Underground Reich, coming to surface. And you're seeing this all over the world right now. You're seeing, Dave Emory talks about some very interesting people, like Nigel Farage, for instance. Nigel Farage wanted Donald Trump to be president. He visited in London, he visited the embassy, the Ecuadorian embassy, where Julian Assange is. This is mainstream news, folks. And said when he was asked, did he meet with Julian Assange? He said he couldn't remember why he went into the building in the first place. The Ecuadorian embassy. He couldn't remember why he was there. It doesn't pass the smell test. All Brexit did was empower Germany further. It got rid of the British out of the EU and empowered Germany further. It made, and militarily and economically, Germany is beginning to spread its wings. They're the second largest manufacturing country in the world, next to China. Japan, as an aside, is starting to move towards reversing their pacifist constitution, meaning they'll begin to start to build up their military again. And has elected some very interesting people in very high positions of power. Please go, if you're interested, Google Japanese leaders and look who their family members are in some cases. It's stunning stuff. But I'm going to leave a link below to Spitfire, which is an audio source that you can go to and listen to every single Dave Emory audio that's ever been recorded. There are thousands of hours, literally. And also, each one is accompanied by a very detailed description, and he gives references. And so if you listen to it and read it at the same time, you don't have to go off into logic leaps. You can actually look at his sources. And his sources aren't info fucking wars. His sources aren't fucking Breitbart. His sources are the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the LA Times, blah, blah, blah. Great authors. Great, very good authors. Very smart people. And he will introduce you to what he has referred to as the Underground Reich. And he's right. He talks about people like Julius Evola, who Steve Bannon referenced in a speech. And if you know who Julius Evola is, he was essentially a fascist philosopher who Mussolini loved. And he influenced the SS, and he influenced Mussolini to an absurd degree. I mean, and nobody knows who he is unless you're extremely well read. I didn't know who he was until Dave Emory told me. And Dave Emory did audio and wrote about him in the 90s, in the late 90s. Pretty amazing stuff. And now it's all coming to fruition. The whole Underground Reich philosophy is simply, it's difficult. And you know what, instead of me going into it, I'm going to keep this video super short. Please check out some of the links below that I'm going to leave. Get yourself familiarized with Dave Emory. Get yourself familiarized with a true alternative media person who isn't a right-wing fascist piece of shit, who doesn't support awful people like Nigel Farage, and doesn't support Alex Jones, and doesn't cotton to Breitbart or any of these, because he sees through it. He sees their hate, he sees the fascism, and he sees the totalitarianism that's coming. And he's right. That's all you have to say. He's a true left-wing conspiracy theorist, which is kind of what I consider myself to be. I don't like the word conspiracy theorist anymore because it's such a pejorative. You can't ever take that back. It's like trying to take pedophile back almost now. So it's easier just to let that shit die off and call yourself something else. And, doing it like what Noam Chomsky said, you do an institutional analysis. That I prefer that. So please, I'm begging anybody who watches this video, please go check out Dave Emory's work. Please take the time. If you have a long commute, Download a couple of his MP3s and listen to him as you're driving. If you're working out, you're running, you're biking, you're going to work and you need something to listen to and you want to educate yourself onto what is the fuck is going on and the people that are running everything, who they were influenced by, and this underground Reich philosophy, please check out Dave Emory's work. I've mentioned him hundreds of times in my videos, and I've never made a video just about him. He's a special, special individual. And he's not some leftist bullshit artist. He's anti-gun control. He thinks much like John Taylor Gatto. You know, John Taylor Gatto is another one I would recommend, but I'll do a video about him someday. But please, Dave Emory has had a profound effect on my thinking. He's had a profound effect on really how our society has evolved over the last 40 years, and it's all documented in audio and in written form. And he's going to bring up things that you didn't know existed. And he's going to talk about issues that you can't believe are real. And he's going to bring up data and he's going to tie it into the mainstream. And he's not going to Alex Jones you. There will be no gold and silver sales. Gold, go to Modest Resources and buy gold and silver. There will be none of that shit. What he will do is he will tell you the truth. He will show you paths so you can understand how we got to Donald Trump and why Le Pen is popular in France and why that douchebag in what is it, Denmark the Netherlands or wherever the fuck Scandinavian horrible place he is rising to power, and why Zionists are starting to, the Zionists are loving this anti-Muslim shit because of the Palestinian issue and a one-state solution, etc. And he goes into all of this and is extremely fair. And at the same time, isn't anti-Jewish, isn't anti-Israel. He isn't even he talks about, he'll discuss things like the NSA listening to you, right? And everyone's outraged at the NSA and WikiLeaks can put all this. Well, what about Microsoft listening to you, or Apple, or Facebook, or Reddit, or any of the wireless companies? What about them gathering your data and using that against you to advertise to you, to control your thinking? Google using what you search for to change your searches. So if you type something in, you don't necessarily get the most popular thing, but you get some shit that's related to something you might have searched for. He goes into all of this and how it's used as mind control. He calls Facebook a panopticon, which is a prison. It's a prison where the guards don't have to watch the prisoners, but the prisoners think the guards are. And they kind of self-manage themselves because they think they're being watched all the time. It's brilliant, his analysis of everything, and he's been around before the internet even fucking existed. He was on KPFA and I think all of the different leftist, he was on these, he's no longer on them because of what he's saying, because left-wing radio has been destroyed in this country. If you're a left-wing conspiracy theorist, I mean, where do you go? NPR? Really? Because they don't want to take time away from Ira Glass's incredibly asshole boring interviews to talk about anything that matters. So let's just keep recycling and regurgitating the same bullshit on the left, and then we'll never get to any truths. Well, God forbid you talk about 9/11. God forbid NPR, God forbid anybody anywhere on the left talks about fucking 9/11 and the repercussions of 9/11 and the ramifications of it, blah, blah, blah. God forbid anybody discusses this underground Reich. This fascist element that has just influenced our military and that has influenced our government, our State Department, all of our cherished entities that we hold in a democracy or republic that we hold true and dear. They've influenced all of them. They've infiltrated and influenced, particularly the military. And you see this with our current president. And you've seen this with people like Ron Paul, and you've seen this underground Reich poke its head up in Nigel Farage and Alex Jones and the John Birch Society and these hardcore right-wingers who come out, the Koch brothers, and even farther, even more in depth, you can start to go into Vladimir Putin and Trump and Le Pen, like I was mentioning earlier. And you can start to talk about what they're doing and what they're trying to do in Germany now. And you can see what he's saying is true. And it doesn't take logic leaps. It doesn't take a bunch of bullshit, and he's not trying to sell you anything. He's simply taking data, analyzing it, and then putting it out there for you to accept or not accept. And he's pedantic and at the same time extremely down-to-earth layman. So please, I'm going to wrap this video up. Please go check out Dave Emory's work. Get yourself acquainted. Get yourself comfortable with these ideas. And I promise you, you will understand the world much more after listening to Dave Emory. Also, check out Mae Brussel. I'll do a video someday about Mae Brussel. Matter of fact, I've done videos about Mae Brussel. She passed away in the early 90s. Dave Emory's still alive, and he is, in my opinion, should be held up there with anybody that's ever done any investigative reporting ever. That's how important Dave Emory is to my research and to my life and an understanding of where I am in society. Thank you for listening, and please, again, check out Dave Emory. I'll leave all the links below. Have a great day.